So the trailer for the most anticipated Indian film of 2024 is out, KALKI 2898AD. And personally, I'm pretty happy and excited for the film. But there's so much debate happening on the VFX of the trailer. Some are calling out the visuals for not being up to the mark. Many allegations that they have copied multiple Hollywood films. And I wonder where is all of this coming from? Even going as far to call it the next Adipurush. Let's talk. Hello guys, I'm Nona and KALKI is supposed to be the biggest science fiction film ever made in India. Not just a film, but they are making a whole franchise, which is based on our own Indian scriptures and mythology. This film is not just high on the concept, but also a very big pan-India film with a big star cast coming from across the country. From Prabhas and Deepika Padukone to legends like Amitabh Bachchan and Kamal Hassan, and so many more. There are even rumors for big cameos in the film. But with all of this, I can understand if some people have doubts because of the past experiences. There have been many big films with a lot of promise, but they fail to deliver. And as an audience, you learn from that and become more cautious for the next time. Now, looking at the trailer, it's definitely not a typical trailer which generates a lot of hype and it's very shocking. It'll give you those WTF moments. That's not what they're going for. Their objective with this trailer was to set up and introduce the world to us, what we are getting into, who are these characters, where they are and what they are doing. And it does a really good job in doing this. Even I will not consider it to be the best trailers to come out for any film, but it does its job what it set out to do. It shows you the world, what to expect from it, and those grand visuals. You will be exported to that era. But what are the bigger concerns the audiences have? Number one has to be Prabhas. He became a pan-India star after Bahubali. But since then, he hasn't delivered great films. But people went in for those films considering it's Prabhas and they expected a lot from him, but they were disappointed. And that happened 3 times in a row. So for them to think maybe this is yet another the same thing, big pan-India film with Prabhas, a lot of actors, a lot of VFX, but they have doubts. They are second guessing it. But I feel the trailer really clears this point because the focus is on the narrative and the world, not just Prabhas' character. He is the lead of the film, he is the protagonist, one of them, but there is more than just him. And that's a good sign. And I actually made a whole video, what went wrong with his choices, why his films didn't work out. And I predicted in that video that Salar and KALKI will be very different because they are helmed by visionary filmmakers who have proved themselves before that Prabhas' stardom is in the right hands. But one film that really harmed Prabhas' image was Adipurush. And that brings me to point number 2, the VFX. Now the only one good thing that came out of Adipurush was that people know what is bad VFX. It has become a prime example of it. And that film failed both aesthetically as well as in the execution of VFX. Whereas KALKI, just from the trailer, you can tell both the aesthetic and execution is top notch. Definitely it's not flawless. And that's the same for most of these big epic scale heavy VFX films. It's just that you just look over them. And that's the same case here. There are some hiccups. If you pause the trailer, you zoom in, you'll find some faults. There are certain sequences which look little off. But one thing I don't like this in these debates, suddenly the budget of the film will come out of nowhere. I don't even know if it's official, but it's everywhere that the budget of this film is 600 crores. And people are saying, where have you spent this much money? The budget of a film is compared to the budget of Chandrayaan, which is so stupid. And how can we even ask such a question that where did you spend the money? How many of us really even know how a film is made? What all happens behind the scenes? All the costs they have to take in to make a film. As an audience, that's not even our department to even ask a question about. You can question the story, you can question the filmmaking, you can question all the things you see on the screen, but not what happened behind it. And I think the work speaks for itself. From the trailer, you can see how they have designed everything. It is so detailed. All of it looks so authentic. It feels like you're entering this post-apocalyptic world. They have designed their own city, their own vehicles, their own weapons, the costumes, how the technology works, how these people live. And through all of this, you get to know the passion, the hard work the team has put in. And that's what satisfies you as an audience, that you want to go and watch it because you are in for something special. Yes, there will be some small VFX hindrances, but you're ready to forgive it because of the bigger picture. And the comparison with Hollywood makes no sense. The budgets are so different. The market they are catering to is so different. The kind of film Ashwin is making with KALKI, the universe is setting up, that is equivalent to a big Star Wars film. And when you compare the budget of those two, you will understand the difference. Even if Kalki becomes the highest grossing Indian film ever, it will hardly touch the budget of these Hollywood blockbusters. And talking about comparison, point number 3, that this film is just copied from different Hollywood films, be it Mad Max, Dune, Star Wars, and whatnot. That is such an immature debate. That shows there is a lack of understanding of how the creative process works. Number 1, art is all about inspiration and imitation. That's the basics of creative process. You want to do painting because you saw someone do it. You want to make a film because you saw a film. That's how you get inspired to create art. You're calling it a copy of Star Wars, which itself was inspired from Dune books. And those Dune books, the author was inspired from the film Lawrence of Arabia. And that film is a dramatized version of a real event. That's literally the path of how art works. You take the inspiration from the world you live in, the things you see, and pour that into the canvas or the screen, the way you want to depict it. Number 2, Kalki is supposed to be a science fiction, dystopian, post-apocalyptic, futuristic world. It's the first time we are doing something like this at this grand scale. But Hollywood has been doing it for last 40 to 50 years. They've built multiple franchises on this concept. Star Wars is one of the biggest of them, which is still dominating this space. And we all are exposed to it. We all have seen it. We are familiar with this concept because of that. And that same goes to the makers of this film. They all have seen those films. They all are inspired from it. Maybe one of those films gave them this idea that we can also do it with Indian context and Indian mythology. There will be some direct references. There will be a lot of ideas which we have seen in those films utilized here also, because they have developed this idea of a post-apocalyptic dystopian world. The process of imagining that world has already been done a long time ago, and it's done with a lot of knowledge, a lot of thought, that what our future be like after an apocalypse when the humanity is at brink. What will happen? We are already seeing what will happen. Global warming, the CO2 level rising, the water rising, the depletion of resources. That's a natural evolution, and most post-apocalyptic films will show this. How can you make it different? It will not make any sense. How humanity will behave at that time, how the world will work. It will be very similar if we follow the same evolution. So there will be a lot of similarities. But the point is, how do you make it your own? And from the trailer itself, you can see it stands out. It's different than anything we have seen before. Making it work in the Indian context, adding our own mythology, makes it stand out. Let's take food example. I love this. Consider you never had pizza. Now you have heard about it, you want to have one, but your mother says, we have pizza at home, as usual. And at home, the pizza is basically the chapati with ketchup on top, maybe some toppings, and there you go, homemade pizza. And that's pizza for you. And you'll happily accept it because it's different. It's something refreshing and new. But now consider you already had pizza, be it Domino's, Pizza Hut, whatever. And if then your mother gives you that, you know the difference. Now you know that there are different crust of pizzas, there are different toppings, there are different kind of cheese they have, different sauces. Now that chapati pizza will not stand out. I hope you are following. Kalki is basically our mom trying to make a pizza from a YouTube video, following all the steps, creating the dough for the pizza from scratch, making the sauce, adding those toppings, getting the right cheese to put on it, and then baking it in an oven. Now it may not be perfect, but it will be similar to what you had outside, but it's homemade, healthier, and made with love. See, there are some issues. The Hindi trailer, the dubbing is really off. Now I feel like that's not the real dubbing for the film. They just got the actors to dub those lines which are there in the trailer. But maybe I'm wrong. And if that is the case, I hope the makers work on it. The writing of the dubbed dialogues in Hindi, it didn't really work for me. When you hear them, you feel like they are made up. It's not coming organically. Now it's not a pure science fiction film. There's gonna be this genre of, mass masala. There are some comedy bits in the trailer. There's some over the top action. And I just hope it all really blends well. See, this is India's first attempt at a sci-fi universe at this scale. And you can see it's genuine. It's not like some Adipurush, where you can see it was just done for the money. For Kalki, you can see the passion behind it. And I'm all for it. You will have my support, because this will lead us to the future of Indian cinema, which I talked about in this video. Kalki is gonna change everything. Now, what are your thoughts about the trailer and the film coming out in just 15 days? Let me know in the comments below, and I will see you next time.